The Galactic Council, an ancient and influential body, had long maintained order across the galaxy, its chambers filled with representatives from hundreds of species. Each species brought its own strengths, contributing to the collective wisdom of the Council. Yet, in their vast and storied history, humanity was but a recent addition, a newcomer whose existence had only recently been acknowledged. To the Council, Earth was a curious anomaly. Humans, with their short lifespans and limited technology, seemed unremarkable. Their planet, though vibrant and rich in resources, was considered of little consequence. The more advanced species saw them as an evolutionary accident, a species lucky enough to have survived its infancy in a galaxy filled with far more dangerous and capable beings. The arrogance of the Council was palpable. Representatives from the oldest and most powerful species, such as the Dracari with their millennia of wisdom, and the Tresgorn, masters of technological innovation, viewed humanity as a minor footnote in the grand history of the galaxy. The council chamber often echoed with dismissive laughter when the subject of Earth came up, a backwater planet with an overinflated sense of its own importance. Discussions about humanity often carried a patronizing tone. The Eldrith, known for their psychic prowess, spoke of humans as fragile beings, easily manipulated and swayed. The Morlacks, a warrior race, openly scoffed at the idea of human resilience, their own combat history steeped in victories over far more formidable foes. The Council, in its collective wisdom, concluded that Earth was no more than a small, ambitious planet trying to punch above its weight. When Earth's representatives came before the Council, there was a palpable sense of condescension. The humans spoke of cooperation, of mutual growth and exploration. They highlighted humanity's progress in space travel, their desire to expand beyond their solar system. But behind the polite words and diplomatic overtures, the human representatives also carried a warning that was subtly dismissed by the Council. "Restrict us," the human ambassador said, his voice steady yet carrying an undercurrent of something more. "And you will regret it. We have no desire for conflict, but if you force our hand, we will defend ourselves." The council members exchanged amused glances. The Dracari delegate, with his serpentine form coiled elegantly in his seat, let out a soft, hissing laugh. "Defend yourselves? Against what, Ambassador? Your ships are primitive, your weapons archaic. What could you possibly do that would concern us?" The human ambassador met the Dracari's gaze, his expression unreadable. "You may find that humans are not as easily broken as you believe." This statement was met with silence, not out of fear or respect, but out of sheer incredulity. The Tresgorn representative, his cybernetic eyes whirring as he processed the statement, finally spoke. "We have analyzed your capabilities. Our projections show a clear and decisive victory should it come to that. Your species is irrelevant." Despite the dismissal, the ambassador continued, his tone calm, but his words carrying a weight that was difficult to ignore. "We do not seek war, but know this: underestimating us would be a grave mistake." The Council's dismissal of humanity's warnings was almost routine. The Morlack representative, his voice a low growl, spoke for the Council when he said, "Earth will adhere to the restrictions. There will be no further expansion into Council-protected space. This is not a negotiation." The vote was swift and decisive. The majority of the Council agreed that humanity needed to be contained, their ambitions curtailed. It was not out of fear, but rather a desire to maintain order in the galaxy, to ensure that no new power could rise to challenge the established hierarchy. The human ambassador watched as the votes were tallied, the decision clear. Earth's expansion would be severely restricted, its ventures into deeper space monitored and controlled by the Council. The ambassador's expression remained neutral, but there was a coldness in his eyes that hadn't been there before. As the decision was finalized, the ambassador stood, adjusting the insignia on his uniform. His voice, calm and deliberate, cut through the murmurs in the chamber. "You have made your decision. But understand this: humanity will not be controlled, not by you, not by anyone. We warned you once, do not force us to warn you again." With those words, the human delegation turned and left the council chambers, their footsteps echoing in the silence that followed. The council members, confident in their decision, dismissed the humans' words as bluster, the last desperate plea of a species out of its depth. But as the doors closed behind the humans, a sense of unease settled over a few of the delegates. The Drakari representative, for all his arrogance, felt a cold shiver down his spine, an instinctual response honed by centuries of survival. Something in the human's tone, in his eyes, suggested that perhaps they had underestimated Earth in ways they couldn't yet comprehend. Yet, the decision had been made. The council had spoken, and in their collective mind, the matter was settled. Earth would comply, or it would face the consequences of defiance. But as the human ambassador's words echoed in the minds of those present, a thought lingered, a thought that would soon grow into a realization that would shake the very foundations of the Galactic Council. Don't F***ck with Earth. The Galactic Council convened once more, their chamber buzzing with a sense of self-satisfaction. The vote had been nearly unanimous, and in their minds the matter was settled. Earth, the upstart planet, would be contained, its ambitions curtailed. The council had seen to that. Representatives exchanged knowing glances, some smirking at the thought of humanity's futile resistance. They had dealt with countless worlds before, imposing their will and ensuring order throughout the galaxy. Why should Earth be any different? The Drakari delegate, his serpentine eyes gleaming with arrogance, spoke first. And so, the humans have been put in their place. They may bark loudly, but they are still dogs on a leash. They will comply, or they will be crushed. His words were met with murmurs of agreement. The Morlack representative, whose species prided themselves on their military prowess, let out a deep, rumbling laugh. They are fools if they think they can challenge us. Their technology is primitive, their strategy is predictable. We have seen their kind before, and they all fall the same way, quickly and without mercy. Yet, amidst the overwhelming confidence, there were voices of doubt. The Eldrith representative, known for his species' psychic abilities, was uneasy. His kind could sense more than just words. They could feel the intent, the underlying currents of emotion that others might miss. Perhaps, he began cautiously, we should not dismiss them so easily. The human ambassador's warning was different. There was no fear, no desperation. Only a certainty that does not sit well with me. His concerns were waved off by the others. The Tresgorn, ever logical, responded. They are desperate, nothing more. Bluffing to save face. We have the numbers, the technology, the experience. They are a fledgling race, barely out of their solar system. We need not concern ourselves with their bravado. But as the council members continued their self-congratulations, Earth's leaders were already preparing their response. Deep within the fortified command centers of Earth, military and scientific minds gathered. The council's decision had been anticipated, perhaps even welcomed. It provided the justification needed to unveil what had been kept hidden for so long. For years, humanity had been advancing, not just in technology, but in strategy, in unity. They had watched, learned, and adapted, all while keeping their true capabilities shrouded in secrecy. Earth's military had undergone a transformation, integrating artificial intelligence, robotics, and weaponry that could rival anything the Council possessed. Warships, sleek and deadly, had been constructed in secret shipyards, far from prying eyes. Soldiers, enhanced both physically and mentally, were ready for deployment. In a vast underground bunker, Earth's top military officials and scientists gathered around a holographic display, detailing the Council's fleet movements and positions. The atmosphere was tense, but not fearful. There was a quiet confidence, a determination that this would be the moment humanity stepped out of the shadows and into its rightful place in the galaxy. The head of Earth's military forces, a seasoned general with years of experience in both space and ground combat, addressed the group. The Council believes they've won. They think we're no different from the countless other species they subdued. But they are wrong. We've prepared for this. We've developed the technology, the strategies, and now, we have the opportunity to show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of. The room fell silent as the general's words sank in. The decision was clear. This was not just about defending Earth. It was about making a statement, one that would resonate throughout the galaxy. Humanity would not be caged, and those who tried would face the consequences. Orders were given, and the room became a hive of activity. Technicians and engineers worked in tandem, finalizing the launch sequences for Earth's most advanced warships. Soldiers suited up, their armor glinting under the harsh lights, weapons calibrated and ready for battle. In the silence of space, a fleet of human warships, sleek and deadly, began to emerge from hidden shipyards, engines glowing as they powered up for their first mission. The target, the Council's fleet stationed near Earth, a show of force meant to intimidate and control. The humans, however, had no intention of being controlled. The warships moved into formation, their AI systems analyzing every possible scenario, every potential threat. The commanders, calm and focused, issued final instructions, their voices steady and unwavering. When the order was given, the human fleet launched its attack with surgical precision. The first strike was a masterpiece of military strategy, combining overwhelming firepower with flawless execution. Missiles streaked through the void, targeting the Council's ships with pinpoint accuracy. Laser batteries fired in unison, cutting through enemy shields and hulls with ease. The Council's fleet, caught off guard by the sudden and brutal assault, struggled to mount a defense. On the bridge of the Council's flagship, the alien commander watched in horror as his ships were torn apart by the human onslaught. This was not the feeble resistance he had expected. This was a coordinated, relentless attack, executed with a level of precision and power that defied all expectations. His crew scrambled to respond, but it was too late. The human warships moved with a speed and agility that left the Council's forces in disarray. Within minutes, the once mighty Council fleet had been decimated. Ships that had been symbols of the Council's dominance now drifted, shattered and burning, through the cold expanse of space. The few remaining vessels attempted to retreat, but they were pursued and destroyed with ruthless efficiency. As the last of the Council's ships disintegrated under the relentless barrage, the human fleet regrouped, their victory complete. The message was clear: humanity was not to be underestimated. The shockwaves of the battle would reverberate across the galaxy, reaching the ears of those who had believed Earth to be nothing more than a minor player. The Galactic Council, so confident in their superiority, had just been handed their first real defeat, by a species they had dismissed as insignificant. The surviving Council members, receiving reports of the disaster, were left in stunned silence. The Morlock representative, who had once laughed at the thought of human resistance, now sat in disbelief. The Drakari's arrogance had been shattered, his earlier words now bitter reminders of his hubris. Even the Tresgorn, with all their logic and calculations, had failed to predict this outcome. And somewhere, deep in the minds of those who had doubted, a single, terrifying thought took root: they had underestimated humanity, and now they would pay the price. The Galactic Council, once a symbol of order and control, was now a scene of utter chaos. The Grand Chamber, usually a place of calm deliberation, echoed with shouts and accusations as news of the human attack spread like wildfire. Council members from every corner of the galaxy demanded answers, their voices rising in a cacophony of panic and disbelief. How had this happened? How had the humans, a species they had so arrogantly dismissed, managed to launch such a devastating strike? The Drakari representative, his once confident demeanor now replaced with a mix of fear and anger, was the first to speak. "This is impossible! They should have been crushed under our fleet's might. How did they acquire such power? Who is responsible for this oversight?" His questions were met with a wave of blame shifting as representatives from different species began pointing fingers. The Morlack, who had previously boasted about their military superiority, now found themselves under attack from those who believed their forces should have been better prepared. The Tresgorn, ever the logical analysts, were equally confounded. They had calculated every possible outcome, yet none had predicted this. Their spokesperson struggled to maintain composure, attempting to offer explanations that fell flat in the face of the overwhelming evidence of their failure. Amidst the turmoil, the Eldrith representative remained silent, his psychic abilities overwhelmed by the sheer intensity of the emotions swirling around him. He had sensed something was wrong from the start, but his warnings had gone unheeded. Now, as he watched the council unravel before him, he realized the gravity of their mistake. Humanity was not just another species to be subjugated. They were a force that could challenge the very foundations of the council's power. As the arguments raged on, it became clear that the council was on the brink of collapse. The unity that had once held them together was fracturing under the weight of their collective failure. For the first time in centuries, the council found itself facing a threat it did not know how to counter. In the midst of the chaos, an emergency meeting was called. The council members, still shaken by the news, gathered in the central chamber, their faces grim. The atmosphere was tense, with each member keenly aware that the decisions made in the next few moments could determine the fate of the galaxy. The Drakari representative, regaining some of his composure, was the first to speak. "We cannot allow this attack to go unanswered. Humanity must be crushed before they gain any more ground. I propose we launch a full-scale assault on Earth, using every resource at our disposal." His proposal was met with a mixture of approval and dissent. The Morlac, eager to redeem themselves, voiced their support for immediate military action. "Our forces are ready," their representative growled. "Give the order, and we will raze their cities to the ground." But not everyone was in agreement. The Tresgorn, ever the pragmatists, urged caution. "A full-scale war could be catastrophic," their representative warned. "We underestimated humanity once. We must not do so again. They have already demonstrated their ability to strike at us. If we escalate this conflict, we could risk further destabilizing the galaxy." The Eldrith representative, still troubled by his earlier premonitions, added his voice to the call for restraint. "There may be another way. We should consider negotiating with the humans, at least to buy time while we regroup and assess their true capabilities. A direct confrontation may not be the wisest course of action." Tensions rose as the council became increasingly divided. Those who had once been allies now found themselves at odds, their conflicting strategies threatening to tear the council apart from within. As the debate dragged on, it became clear that no consensus would be reached. The council, for all its power, was paralyzed by indecision. Meanwhile, on Earth, a very different atmosphere prevailed. In the aftermath of their successful strike, humanity's leaders wasted no time in planning their next move. The war room, deep within a fortified underground complex, was abuzz with activity as military commanders and scientists worked together to map out their strategy. At the head of the table, Earth's top general, a seasoned veteran with a sharp tactical mind, reviewed the latest intelligence reports. "The Council is in disarray," he stated confidently. "Their forces are scattered, and their leadership is divided. Now is the time to press our advantage." The decision to launch a large-scale offensive was unanimous. Earth's forces, bolstered by their recent victory, were eager to take the fight to the enemy. Warships were readied, their crews briefed on the mission ahead. Soldiers, both human and AI-driven, prepared for battle, their resolve unshaken by the prospect of facing the Council's remaining forces. In the adjacent labs, scientists worked tirelessly, refining the technologies that had given humanity its edge. New weapons, designed to counter the Council's defenses, were tested and deployed. Engineers fine-tuned the warship's systems, ensuring they were ready for the challenges that lay ahead. The offensive would target the heart of the Council's power, their core territories, where the most influential members resided. By striking at the Council's center, humanity aimed to deliver a crippling blow, one that would force the Council to reconsider its stance on Earth. As the final preparations were made, Earth's leaders gathered for a brief but decisive meeting. The general, his gaze steely and determined, addressed the room. "This is our moment. We've shown them our strength, but now we need to show them our resolve. We will not stop until the Council acknowledges our place in the galaxy. And if they refuse, we will ensure they have no power left to challenge us." With those words, the offensive was launched. Warships, bristling with weapons, surged into space, heading straight for the Council's core worlds. The fleet moved with precision and purpose, every ship, every soldier, ready for the battles to come. The stakes were high, but humanity had already proven that they were a force to be reckoned with. The Council, once so confident in their superiority, was about to face the full might of a united Earth. The Galactic Council, still reeling from the shock of humanity's initial strike, quickly assembled one of their largest fleets to regain control of the situation. The Armada, comprising warships from multiple species, moved with calculated precision toward a critical human outpost near the edge of known space. The Council's commanders, confident in their numerical superiority, believed this would be the battle to restore their dominance. As the fleets approached each other, the tension in the void of space was palpable. The Council's ships, vast and bristling with weapons, formed an imposing wall of firepower. On the other side, humanity's fleet appeared smaller, almost insignificant in comparison. But appearances were deceiving. The battle began with a sudden, coordinated strike from the human fleet. AI-controlled ships, each equipped with advanced targeting algorithms, moved with a speed and efficiency that the Council had never encountered before. These ships darted in and out of the Council's formation, their movements unpredictable and precise, overwhelming the alien defenses. Missiles guided by sophisticated AI systems found their marks with deadly accuracy, tearing through the Council's ships with surgical precision. The human commanders employed tactics that left the Council's forces struggling to adapt. Rather than engaging in a head-on clash, humanity utilized hit-and-run strategies, striking hard and fast before retreating to reposition. The Council's fleet, built for large-scale engagements, found itself outmaneuvered at every turn. Despite their best efforts, they couldn't keep up with the agility and cunning of the human fleet. As the battle wore on, it became clear that humanity had the upper hand. The Council's ships, once symbols of their military might, were reduced to debris, floating lifelessly in the cold void of space. The loss was staggering, thousands of their best warriors and most advanced ships destroyed in a matter of hours. The survivors, battered and demoralized, limped back to the Council's strongholds, their confidence shattered. This defeat marked a turning point in the war. The Council, realizing that they had gravely underestimated humanity, scrambled to regroup. They called for reinforcements from their core territories, assembling another fleet to strike back at the heart of human resistance. This time, they were determined to crush humanity once and for all. The counteroffensive was swift and brutal. Council fleets targeted human colonies on the outskirts of their territory, launching surprise attacks that devastated civilian populations and disrupted supply lines. The Council's tactics were ruthless, designed to break humanity's spirit and force them into submission. For a brief moment, it seemed as though they might succeed. The sheer scale of the onslaught caught humanity off guard, leading to several early victories for the Council. But humanity, resilient as ever, quickly adapted to the new reality of the war. Earth's military strategists shifted their focus to guerrilla tactics, using the vastness of space to their advantage. Human ships, smaller and more maneuverable, began striking at the Council's supply lines, disrupting their logistics and forcing them to spread their forces thin. Sabotage became a key element of the human strategy. Cyber warfare units hacked into the Council's systems, causing chaos and confusion among their ranks. Entire fleets were rendered useless as their systems were compromised, leaving them vulnerable to human attacks. The Council's initial successes were soon overshadowed by the relentless human counterattacks. Every time the Council believed they had gained the upper hand, humanity struck back with a ferocity that left them reeling. The war was no longer a straightforward battle of ships and weapons. It had become a war of attrition, one in which humanity's adaptability and resourcefulness gave them a distinct edge. Despite their victories, the cost of the war was becoming apparent to both sides. On Earth, the news of the Council's brutal attacks on human colonies weighed heavily on the populace. Families were torn apart, cities were destroyed, and the scars of the conflict were etched deeply into the fabric of human society. Yet, amidst the devastation, there was a sense of unity and determination. Humanity had faced existential threats before, and they had always emerged stronger. This war, brutal as it was, would be no different. The Galactic Council, on the other hand, found themselves in an increasingly desperate situation. Their resources were being stretched thin, and the losses they had suffered were beginning to take their toll. The once united front of the Council was now fracturing as internal disputes arose over the best course of action. Some members argued for a truce, while others insisted on pressing the attack, unwilling to accept that they had been bested by a species they had long considered inferior. As the war dragged on, it became clear that the final confrontation was approaching. Both sides were preparing for a decisive battle that would determine the fate of the galaxy. For humanity, this was a fight for survival and respect. For the Council, it was a desperate attempt to hold on to their power and prestige. The stage was set for a conflict that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy, with humanity poised to claim its place among the stars. The plan was audacious, risky, and downright dangerous, just the kind of mission humanity needed to turn the tide decisively in their favor. The target was the Galactic Council's capital, a sprawling fortress world known as Arrogance Prime. Buried deep within its heavily guarded structure were the Council's highest leaders, the architects of the war against Earth. If humanity could strike at the heart of their leadership, they could force a surrender and end the conflict on their terms. The operation was codenamed Shadow Spear. The details were discussed in a secure underground bunker on Earth, with only the top military and intelligence officials in attendance. They pored over blueprints of Arrogance Prime, analyzing every possible entry point, every potential vulnerability. The mission wasn't just about brute force, it required finesse, precision, and a level of stealth that few could achieve. The team selected for the mission was the best humanity had to offer, an elite unit composed of soldiers, spies, and cyber warfare experts, each hand-picked for their unique skills. Leading the team was Commander Maya Torres, a seasoned operative with a reputation for pulling off the impossible. Her calm demeanor and razor-sharp focus made her the perfect leader for a mission where every second would count. Beside her was Lieutenant Alex Ghost Daniels, a master infiltrator known for his ability to move unseen even in the most heavily guarded facilities. His skill in evasion was matched only by his proficiency in close-quarters combat. The team's tech expert, Dr. Elena Kessler, was a brilliant hacker who had developed the sophisticated software needed to bypass the Council's advanced security systems. Rounding out the team were two heavy weapons specialists, Corporal Jackson Reed and Sergeant Naomi Chin, both veterans of the war with extensive experience in demolition and tactical support. As the plan took shape, it became clear that success hinged on timing and precision. The first step was getting to Arrogance Prime undetected. For this, they would use a prototype stealth ship, the Abyssal, equipped with the latest cloaking technology. The ship was virtually invisible to all known forms of detection, but the journey would still be perilous. The Council's fleets were on high alert, and one wrong move could mean disaster. The team boarded the Abyssal under the cover of darkness. The atmosphere was tense, but there was a shared sense of purpose. They knew what was at stake, not just their lives, but the future of humanity. As the ship lifted off, Commander Torres briefed the team one last time, going over the plan in meticulous detail. Everyone had their role, and every role was crucial. The Abyssal slipped through space, moving silently toward its target. The journey took several days, during which the team prepared for every possible scenario. They ran through simulations, practiced their timing, and reviewed the layouts of Arrogance Prime's central complex. Despite the tension, there was no doubt in their minds. They were ready. As they approached Arrogance Prime, the real challenge began. The planet was surrounded by a dense network of defense satellites, patrol ships, and sensor arrays designed to detect and destroy any unauthorized vessel. Dr. Kessler worked feverishly at her console, deploying a series of countermeasures to confuse the sensors and create a temporary blind spot. It was a delicate operation, but she executed it flawlessly. The Abyssal slipped through the defenses unnoticed, descending toward the planet's surface. Touching down in a remote area outside the main city, the team disembarked and began the next phase of the mission, infiltrating the Council's command center. The city was a labyrinth of towering structures, each more imposing than the last. The streets were patrolled by heavily armed guards and surveillance drones, leaving no room for error. But this was where Ghost excelled. He led the team through back alleys and maintenance tunnels, avoiding detection with an almost supernatural ease. His every movement was deliberate, calculated to keep the team hidden from the ever-watchful eyes of the Council's security forces. As they moved deeper into the city, the obstacles grew more formidable. High-level security checkpoints, biometric scanners, and even psychic detectors, every measure had been taken to protect the Council's leadership. But humanity had anticipated this. Dr. Kessler hacked into the central security network, feeding it false data and creating gaps in the surveillance coverage. The team advanced slowly, methodically, taking down guards silently when necessary and bypassing the most secure areas without leaving a trace. After hours of tense navigation, they reached the central complex, a massive fortress built into the side of a mountain. This was the heart of the Council's power, where the leaders directed the war effort from within their secure chambers. Getting inside would be the most challenging part of the mission. The entrance was guarded by elite soldiers and advanced automated defenses, and there was no way to avoid them entirely. The team had to move fast. Commander Torres signaled the team, and they sprang into action. Ghost neutralized the outer guards with a series of precise, silent takedowns, while Reed and Chen set up charges to disable the automated defenses. Dr. Kessler hacked the entrance controls, forcing the massive doors open just long enough for the team to slip inside. Inside the complex, the team moved with deadly efficiency, taking out any resistance they encountered. The corridors were lined with sensors and traps, but they navigated them with practiced ease, using a combination of stealth and brute force where necessary. The tension was at its peak. Every step brought them closer to their goal, but also closer to the point of no return. Finally, they reached the Council's inner sanctum, a heavily fortified chamber where the leaders held their meetings. This was it, the critical moment they had been preparing for. The team took their positions, ready to execute the plan that would cripple the Council's leadership and force an end to the war. Commander Torres gave the signal, and they moved in, weapons drawn and minds focused on the task at hand. But just as they were about to strike, a sudden alert blared through the complex. The Council had detected their presence. The team was moments away from launching their final assault, but now they were faced with the reality that the element of surprise was gone. The section ends on a cliffhanger, leaving the fate of the mission hanging in the balance. The team moved swiftly, their mission reaching its critical juncture. Commander Maya Torres and her team had infiltrated the heart of the Council's command center. With the element of surprise slipping away, they launched their attack on the key members of the Council. Their plan was straightforward: neutralize the Council's leadership and force a surrender. Ghost led the charge, dispatching guards with precise efficiency. Dr. Kessler worked feverishly to bypass the final security measures, while Reed and Chen provided cover with heavy weaponry. The chamber was a chaotic mix of high-tech defenses and frantic alien leaders, but the team pressed on. Unexpectedly, an alarm blared throughout the complex, triggering an immediate lockdown. The Council's elite guards, previously thought neutralized, mobilized rapidly to counter the breach. The team found themselves under intense fire from advanced weaponry. The corridor became a battlefield, and every inch gained was hard-won. Commander Torres coordinated the team's efforts with unyielding determination. Despite the chaos, they managed to penetrate deeper into the heart of the chamber. Ghost, with his unparalleled stealth, managed to reach the Council's central command platform. He planted explosives with precise timing, aiming to eliminate the remaining Council members. However, a last-minute complication arose. A hidden defense system activated, targeting the team with lethal force. In a tense, action-packed sequence, the team fought through waves of defenders. Dr. Kessler's hacking skills were pushed to their limits, buying just enough time for Ghost to set the final charges. The explosion rocked the chamber, taking down key Council leaders and causing significant structural damage. The team had achieved their primary objective, but the cost was high. Several members were injured, and the mission had taken a heavy toll on their morale. As the dust settled, the Council's once imposing leadership was decimated, leaving the remaining Council members in disarray. News of the attack spread quickly, and the Galactic Council, now severely weakened and facing further assault from humanity's forces, had little choice but to seek a resolution. Earth's representatives were swiftly summoned to negotiate the terms of surrender. The Council, now desperate to avoid complete annihilation, agreed to meet with human negotiators. The discussions were tense but ultimately productive. Humanity's representatives made it clear that the era of human subjugation was over. Earth was no longer a minor player but a formidable power in its own right. The terms of the surrender were stringent. The Council had to withdraw their forces from disputed territories, dismantle their aggressive military capabilities, and formally recognize humanity as an equal member in the galactic community. The negotiations were hard-fought, but the Council had no viable alternative. With the terms agreed upon, the war came to an official end. The Council's capitulation marked a dramatic shift in the balance of power across the galaxy. Humanity had proven itself not only capable of defending its own but also of demanding respect and equality on a galactic scale. In the aftermath, the galaxy began to adjust to the new order. Earth and its allies worked to rebuild and consolidate their position. Formerly hostile alien species were now part of a complex and evolving diplomatic landscape. Humanity's strength, resilience, and ingenuity had forged a new path forward. The story concluded with a sense of profound pride and achievement. Humanity's victory was not just a triumph of military might but a testament to the spirit of a species that refused to be underestimated. The Galactic Council's defeat had reshaped the galaxy's power dynamics, and humanity's place among the stars was secured. The final message was clear: humanity was a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy would never again doubt their strength or resolve.